The next one that I'm going to do is a small version of a cottage up on a ridge in winter with the trees behind and a little pond in front. This is the finished article and this is my sketch. Just a very quick sketch, nothing too intricate. So I'm going to put that one out of the way a bit. Again, there is no sky. It's to give that cold, snowy sky, snow on the floor, on the ground feeling. I'm going to start off by painting the little house. Probably I'm going to use my rigger because it's very small, and I'm going to go in and find some raw sienna, and I'm just going to paint that around that window and around the door. The roof is undulating, wavy, because it's got snow on the top, and then we've got this side wall here. And just a little raw sienna, way too much water there. So I'm going to give it a blot up. And then spread that out. The light in this case is coming from the right. So this wall I'm just doing here, the end wall, is going to be a lighter one. I'm going to go back into the raw sienna, pick up a bit more. I don't want that much water. And just go over that so that it becomes darker. To make it look like wood, I'm going to use fountain pen that I bought, especially for this. And I'm just going to scratch in the wood panels down that side, and they needn't go right top to bottom. It's just an idea that they're there, and the eye will fill in the rest. We leave the roof white. We have chimneys. I'm going to do those two chimneys. Get tiny work here, just in that raw sienna colour, just on the top of the roof, and let them dry. Whilst we're waiting, we shall go and we shall paint this little bit of pond. I'm using a very small brush again, and pick up some Payne's grey, very light, and just go into that bit where the pond is. It's not a very well defined pond. It's just there. It's just an icy bit of water, really. And that, maybe I've made it a little bit too dark, so I just use my brush and lift off that colour. I'm now going to do this tree here, which is this. So I wet the tree around, and perhaps a little bit along that hedgerow, that side, and that, making sure that it's quite wet. You can see it glistening. And then I'm going to use a little bit of the burnt scarlet for this one. And I'm just going to drop it in the bottom, like that. Then lift up and just pull. Give it a bit more. And let it bleed out. And for the bottom of it, I'm just going to put a tiny touch of Payne's grey which shows where it's the densest and there's other leaves, and then just pull that up with your brush. I've still got it tilted up. Just pull out bits so that it's not straight lines, and leave it to dry. That's that one. Now I think we could probably do this one behind this cottage in this area here. So clean water on my brush. Wet the paper. I'm going to use raw sienna on that one, I think. So a nice brush full of raw sienna. Tap it in. And just to make it extra pretty, and drop a bit of pink in there as well. Lift the paper up, let it run. Drop a little bit of Payne's grey in the bottom. Pull that up a little, not a lot. Push out the edges slightly so that it's not too uniform. And that is that one. We've got 2 more to put in, and hopefully by now my little chimney pots are dry. So I'm going to do the one on the left-hand side of the house. So it sort of goes halfway up along the roof, and it goes up. Whilst these are still a bit damp, just scratch in a few twigs. This will dry it very quickly as well. Just scratch in a few twigs, which gives it the feeling that it's bare branches, and you can just see the sun coming through, really. I'm going to re-wet that bit that I started before I realised I've got to do some scratching. And I'm going to go for the red again. And drop the red in. Let it bleed out, just pushing it around with my brush gently. And again, some Payne's grey right at the bottom, just to darken it down, and that can go down that side there. And I'm just going to scratch some branches into that. And I'm perhaps going to just put a little bit more colour up there. Make that one a bit darker. Pull the edges out a bit, just to make it a little less uniform, and be brave and stick some more colour in. So we'll leave that one. Just blending those lines away. So we just have the last one behind the house, which I'm going to leave for a little while because this red one here is still very damp and it will start to bleed too much in there. So whilst we're waiting, we can, with our rigger, paint our fence in. Again, this property's not really been looked after. Fence posts are missing, some are broken. So I'm just doing some in front of that tree there in the Payne's grey, joining them up. That one's broken. Join them up like that. And then start again over here, going up towards the house. So that one is okay. That's not good. Leave that for a little while. Whilst you've got the Payne's grey on your rigger brush, just gently put in a line underneath the roof. I'm going to have to turn that sideways because otherwise it won't work. So that's just a shadow line that's there. And whilst we're waiting, we can also put in some grass with the Payne's grey on the rigger. Just flick some grass in at the end of the pond. Just flick it in and we'll leave it to dry for a few minutes. Okay, we're now getting towards being dry. With a clean brush, not too much water, but just damp, wiggle along the fence line here so that it dirties it, because snow always looks dirtier underneath a fence. So pull a little bit of colour out and then blend it down into the rest of the snow. So there's not a solid line, and I could usually just a piece of paper roll, kitchen roll, and just blot it so that it breaks up the line. And do the same with this red. It can be pulled, this tree here, it can be pulled, blended down, and then just gently blotted. Now I've got a little path here from the door, so I'm going to have a very, very light wash of Payne's grey and just the tiniest touch. It's a well-trodden path and it's turned to slush and it's just coming away from the house. And now we'll put in the tree behind the house. So again, wet it. Try to miss going over the chimneys, otherwise you'll lose them, but it doesn't matter. We can always wait till it's dry to put them back in. So, oops, red. Colours. Oh, I'm going for red again. So I just drop a little bit of the red over the top of the house, push it up a bit, make it a nice shape, make it broken line so that it's not a hard edge. Pull bits of paint out, get a little bit of Payne's grey and just put it over the top of just to denote that it's denser there, and just pull it through. Flick out a few pieces. and scratch in a few branches. And then we let that dry. I forgot totally and didn't put anything to darken this tree up on this side. So I'm just going to put, with my rigger, just a little bit of Payne's grey and just flick one or two little twigs just to darken it up. And then if you see any others need that as well. I think this mauve tree or purple tree is probably dry, so we can put the fence in front of that, joined to the house. And whilst we're doing that, we can then get a fairly dry but clean brush and just pull that colour down so that it looks dirty. And I'm going to just blot that up a bit. And again, in front of the red tree, this side, we've got a little bit of fencing going towards the house. Join one or two, make one or two fell over. And I'm going to just paint in the windows and the door in the Payne's grey. That window looks like a terrible blob, but we can remedy that. That's that. And to make it look like heavy snow on the roof, we just need a little bit of shadow. So I just take a little bit of Payne's grey and just make a little bit of shadow over there and a little bit of shadow down the side here. And that will help it to look like snow. And I think all we have left to do then is to actually just put in a few birds and we're done. So just a few birds, making sure you don't touch what you've just painted. That one should be a little bit higher because it's coming towards us. And the final touch is a little bit of Payne's grey just in front of the house here because it's in shadow. The sun is hitting that end wall and I've got too much water there. So just pull it up. That bit all there is in shadow, and because it's the winter, it's fairly long shadows. And that, apart from that little bit of fence that I seem to have lost again, there we are, is about it. Okay, so there we are. We have small winter cottage. The next video is the larger one.